Hello and welcome back to the course. I hope the last lecture wasn't that big of a headache. If you have any question, just make sure to drop it in the comment section and I'll make sure to reply back to you within the next 48 hours. Anyway, so just to summarize, today we'll be going over the input function. The input function, we use it to take input from the user, and then we could do anything that we wish to from by using that input. And we will also be learning about what just happened. Yeah, we will also be learning about how to get the length of a string, and the third thing that we'll be working on. So remember I introduced the print function in last class. I showed you guys two methods of doing that, a normal printing method and the fstring method. So we'll be digging deeper into both of them and applying them to some more examples to truly see the difference between them. So printing methods, yeah, that's pretty okay. The next thing that we'll be going over is the type function in order to get the type of different variables that you make. Okay, I really hate that. Okay. And the next thing is, well, let me think. Yeah, we'll be going over a topic called casting. Casting basically means converting the data type of an object to converting the data type of an object. Yeah. So let's say you want to convert an integer into a string. So in order to do that, you'll be using a process called as casting. The next thing we'll be doing is going over some of the basic mathematical operations, such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and yeah, also how to get the power, how to use a power, to the power of 3. That would be 8. So how you can do that by using Python. And the next thing we'll be doing is yeah, how can you access each character in a string? So let's say I have a string and its value is, I'm storing a value of Farhan, Farhan, into that string. So how can I access each and every character in it? So how can I access F? How can I access A, R, H, and so on? And so yeah, this is what we'll be going over for today. So I guess let's begin then. Okay. So the first thing is how to get input from a user. So let's say we want to ask the user for their name, right? Maybe for the first name or the full name, doesn't matter. So let's just say we want to ask them for their name. So we will have to make use of a function called input. So we'll have to make use of the input function. Since it's a function, we have to provide the brackets, we have to provide the parentheses. Then inside of the brackets, you can write down the question that you wish to ask. Let's say let's say we want to ask the user's name. So I'm gonna say, what is your name? All right. What is your name? Then, okay, let's try to run the program and let's see what happens. There you go. Now you can see on the console, it's printing the question. It's saying, what is your name? And now I have the ability to type something onto the console. So I'm gonna say Farhan is my name. There you go. I'm just gonna press on enter. That's it. Nothing else is gonna happen because we're not doing anything else in the program, in the code. All we're doing is asking the user to input their name. Now, once we get their input, what people prefer to do is not prefer, you should always do it. I mean, if you're asking someone for an input, you probably want to use that input in the future. You want to use it somewhere. So, what you can do is save that input into a variable. we studied about variables in the last class. So you can name the variable anything. I'm gonna call this username, and I'm gonna be setting that to be equals to this. So I'm asking the user for an input, and I'm saving their answer in a variable called username. The name of this variable could be anything. It could be blah blah. Doesn't matter, honestly. But it's better if the name of the variable actually makes sense, So the next time when you come back to your code and take a look at it, you can figure out what this variable is supposed to do, right? If it's just something weird, then it will be a huge problem for you. Okay. Yeah, so that is how you get the input from the user. Now, the next thing is how to get the length of a string. All right. So we just asked the user for their name, and we're saving that in a variable. So let's find out the length of their name. In order to do that, you simply have to use a function called len, and then two brackets again, because it's a function, so you need the parentheses. Then inside of the brackets, you're gonna write down maybe the name of the variable that you wish to find the length for. Or you could write down the string itself, So I could either say username, the name of the variable, whose length I wish to find, or instead of doing this, I could just write down some random string, maybe directly Farhan. There's no difference in that. You can either write down the name of the variable or the string itself directly. So let's write down username, okay? Because we don't know what the user's gonna input, right? We don't know their name. Therefore, we are gonna put the name of the variable inside the brackets. Now let's run it. Okay, I'm gonna write down my name. Okay, there you go. You can see nothing really happens. So what this function length does is it gives you the length of the string but does not print it. Therefore, to print it, you have to make use of the print function. We went through the print function in the last lecture. If you don't remember it, I would recommend you to go back to the previous lecture and just do a quick scan. Do a quick scan of the last lecture, and yeah. All right. So now let's try to run this. What is your name? Farhan is my name. There you go. It's printing 6, meaning the length of my name is 6, right? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There you go. The length of my name is 6. Perfect. So that is how you get the length of a string. All right, let's do one more example. Let's say I want to get the length of maybe a computer, all right? Just a random word, a computer. Now, what do you think? What will be the length of this string? Take 5 seconds and try to figure this out. Okay, so now let's run it and let's see what the answer is. What is your name? That's the first thing that you have to input. There you go. 6 is the length of user's name, and 8 is the length of this string. Computer is 8 because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. It's 8, so it's printing that onto the console. That's it. All right, perfect. Now, let's move on to the third thing for today. The printing methods. Yeah. So last class, we went over 2 printing methods. The first one, what I call it as, is the normal printing method, and the second one is fstring. So normal printing method is an old method which people used to use it back in Python 2.0, but since Python 3.0's release, people prefer to use f strings because it's a lot easier. It's less messy. Okay. So let's say we ask the user for their name, and now we wish to print their name onto the screen. Okay, now instead of just printing their name, we want to say your name is dash the input they put. All right. So in this case, since I'm putting Farhan, I want to print your name is Farhan. Okay. To do all this by the help of a print function, what we can say is if you were to use a normal method, so you can say speech marks because your name is this is a string, right? So you have to put this inside of the speech marks. A string should always be inside of a speech mark. So I'm gonna say your name is. Once I'm done with that, I don't know their name, right? I don't know what they're gonna type into the variable, but I do know that their name has been stored into this variable. So I can say plus, meaning add this username onto this string. So concatenate them, all right? Your name is plus user's input. Okay, let's try to run this. And you know what? Let's comment off these two lines. Well, yeah, I think I did not introduce how to comment lines. In order to comment a line, you can simply write down the pound key in the beginning. That's it. Okay, some people call it pound key, some people call it hash, I suppose. So yeah, you can simply put that in the beginning of the line. Then I prefer to put an empty space. It's not really necessary. I just do that for the sake of styling. So yeah, that's your own choice. But I prefer to do that. All right. So when you comment something, that line won't be executed by the machine, all right? It won't be executed by it. It will simply ignore these lines. We are putting them just for the sake of us to read, not for the computer to do anything with it. Okay, so let's get back on the topic again. Now let's try to run this. It says, what is your name? I'm gonna write down Farhan. There you go. You can see it's printing your name is Farhan now onto the console. But there is no space between is and Farhan, so you could simply put a space over here. That shouldn't be a big problem. Let's run it again. Farhan, there you go. Your name is Farhan. Perfect. Let's run it again. Let's put some other name. Maybe Peter. Your name is Peter. All right. So based on what the user inputs, we'll be printing this. Okay, perfect. Now, how can we do this exact same thing with the help of f strings? So right now we use the normal print method. Now let's make use of the f strings. Printing using f string. Okay. In order to print using f string, remember, inside of the brackets, the first thing that you have to do is put an f, put rf, and then two speech marks again because, well, it's a string. And then inside of them, you can put your name is. And then remember, whenever you got a variable, you have to put two curly brackets. I introduced these two curly brackets in the last class. In the last lecture, you can take a look over there. If you're not sure what this means, And then inside of the curly brackets, you tend to put the name of the variable. So the name of the variable should always be inside of the curly brackets. So now we are saying your name is username. So let's run it. Okay, first of all, let's comment this, right? We just want to print the new one. Farhan, and then your name is Farhan. There you go. The output is the exact same still. There's no difference in the output, but it's just that this way looks a lot cleaner, right? So you can read it. Your name is username. Instead of something like this, your name is, then a space, and plus, then username, blah blah. It gets really confusing. I personally prefer to use f string. Indeed, majority of the programmers who use Python as a primary language, they prefer to use f strings. Yep, awesome. So let's move on then. The next thing I wanted to point out, I wanted to teach is the type function. What the type function does is it returns the type of your variable. So again, you have to print it. The type function simply going to return you. It's simply going to give you the data type. It's not going to print it. Similar to the length function, it's not going to print it. So you have to use the print. Then you can say type. Then inside of the brackets, you can say type of, let's say, this variable, username. What do you think? What would be the type of, what would be the data type of username? Let's run it and let's check. Farhan, there you go. It says class str. You really don't have to worry about any of this. I mean, except for this. Don't worry about anything else, all right? So it says str. Str is a short form for string. So this means a username has a data type of string. Let's do some more examples for the type function, maybe 99, all right? What do you think? What would be the data type of this? Let's run it. Yeah, the REPL is kind of slow, honestly. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna comment this the next time. All right, there you go. It says int. The data type of 99 is int. Let's do the same thing for the rest of the data types as well. True. Print type 99.9999, all right? And let's run it. There you go. It says the data type of username is a string. 99 is an int. Int is a short form for integer. The data type for true is Boolean. And the short form is BOOL, bool. And then the data type for 99.999 is float. So that's it. That's all what the type function does. It's pretty simple to use it, right? Awesome. So yeah, the next thing is casting. Now, how can you convert a variable from one data type onto another data type? To do that, you use a process called as casting. So let's say I wish to convert an integer into a float, right? Let's say I wish to convert an integer into a float. So let's make a variable, okay? My number is equals to 99, okay? So initially what I'm gonna do is pardon me. So initially what I'm gonna do is print the data type of my number. So print type of my number, there you go. Once I've done that, now I'll be converting its data type into a float. So right now we all know that it's gonna be an integer. We already did it over here, right? 99 is an integer, but we'll be converting this into a float. And in order to do that, you simply have to say float of my number. All right. And then let's print it again. Okay, now there's one small problem in that. Okay, but let's run it and let's see. There you go. So right now you can see it says int for both of them. That's because similar to the length function, similar to the type function, the float function, it basically needs to be stored into a variable. So you have to say, instead of simply calling the function, you have to say my number, the name of your variable, is equals to the float. So now what's going to happen is it's completely changing the data type of your my number. Let's run it. There you go. Int and then float. So initially it was 99 with the data type of an int, but then it got changed to float. Let's also print the contents with the data type, all right? And how about we print that in the same line by using f strings? So what we can say is f, right? The bracket should be outside. Yep. Then since this whole type thing is a variable, right? I mean, it's an operation that we're doing. So this goes into the curly brackets. Now I'm gonna say one more curly bracket, right? I want to print the value of my number. So it's gonna say 99 has the data type of type. Let's copy paste this onto here and let's run it. Let's see what happens. There you go. So now you can see it says 99 has a data type of int. 99.0 has a data type of class float. Why? Because we converted 99 into a float, so it added 0.0 into it. So yeah, this is a great example of, using f strings as well. It might be a bit confusing for you guys to look at the first time, but as time goes by, I'm pretty sure this will probably be the easiest thing you would ever know. Yeah, so all we are doing is we are printing the value inside of this variable my number. Then we're printing this sequence of characters, has the data type of. Then again, we are printing this. It's not a variable, but it's an operation. And the operations are also supposed to go inside of the curly brackets in f string. Perfect. Awesome. All right, and the next thing is some very basic mathematical operations. So let's comment all this, all right? Yeah. So if we were to comment each and every line, then we would have to add the pound sign in front of all the lines. But that would be a kind of be a time-consuming procedure, right? So instead, what you can do is select the piece of code that you wish to comment, and then Control plus forward slash. There you go. Control plus forward slash. Perfect. Now let's do some mathematical operations. So you can do some very basic calculator functions in Python as well, such as adding numbers, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, etc. So you can say 9 plus 2, 9 minus 2, 9 multiplied by 2, 9 divided by 2, 9 to the power of 2, etc. So in order to do that, again, you have to use a print function because we want to print the result onto the console. If we simply say 9 plus 2, 9 minus 2, that won't do anything, right? So you say print 9 plus 1, print 9 minus 1, print 9 multiplied by 1, and print 9 divided by 1. So these are the signs that you're supposed to know: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. All right, and one more, and that is the power symbol. So 9 to the power of 1. I mean, 9 to the power of 1 is going to be 9 itself, but Still, let's just do it, all right? 9 to the power of 1. So power means you need 2 asterisk. Star, star. For multiply, you only need 1. For division, you need the forward slash. Perfect. Let's try to run this. Okay, it's still asking for my name. I'm gonna comment this code. There you go. So 9 plus 1 is 10. 9 minus 1 is 8. 9 times 1 is 9. 9 divided by 1 is 9.0. One thing to keep in mind is that whenever you do division, the data type will by default be changed into float. So 9 divided by 1 means the result will have a data type of float, 9.0. Yeah. But if you don't want it to get converted into a float, then instead of putting 1 forward slash, you could put 2 forward slash. What this will do is it will remove the decimal part. It will only keep the integer part. There you go. Now instead of 9.0, we got 9. So print 9 divided by 1, okay? Just for the sake of having it over there. There you go. And 9 to the power of 1 is 9 itself. So these are some of the mathematical operations that you have to know. They'll prove to be very beneficial as you progress, because I believe these are the fundamentals of anything that you do. Okay. Yeah. And the last but not the least, what we wanted to do is how can we access each character in a string? Okay. So let's say we have a string. Okay, I want to call this my str is equal to, you can name it anything. It doesn't matter. All right, I can say blah blah blue blue anything. So I'm calling this my string and I'm setting that to be equals to a string. A string is a sequence of characters. I'm setting this to be equals to maybe uh maybe anything, honestly, just my own name. All right, again, my name, Farhan. I'm setting my string to be equals to Farhan. Now, how can I access each and every individual character in this? To do that, you simply have to say the name of the variable, then 2 square brackets. And then inside of the square bracket, you have to write down the index of that character. So, by so we know the length of this is 6. So F would be 1, A will be 2, R will be 3, H will be 4, A will be 5, and N will be 6, and so on, right? But when using an index, you have to subtract 1 from everything. So instead of starting from 1, you start from 0. So we say F is at index 0, A is at index 1, R is at index 2, H is at index 3, A is at index 4, yep, and N is at index 5. Okay, so let's say I want to access the very last one. So we know this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, oh sorry, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and is 5. So I'm simply gonna say 5. Then again, you have to print it, right? You have to make use of the print function. So let's do this. Let's comment this out. We don't need this anymore. There you go. So the character at index 5 is N. Now, can you tell me what would be the character at index 3? What do you think? What would be the character? Just maybe pause the video for 5-10 seconds and try to figure it out yourself. So count from 0 all the way to the end. So F has an index of 0, A has an index of 1, R has an index of 2, H has an index of 3, A has an index of 4, and n has an index of 5. So 3 would be, okay, my REPL just randomly reconnected for some reason. I'm not sure why. Anyways, yeah. So the correct third index 3 would be H. If you guessed it correctly, then perfect. Good job. Let's try to print this. There you go. It says H. Perfect. So yeah, that's all I wanted to do for today. I guess it's gonna be a pretty big lecture. Yep, 30 minutes, almost 30 minutes. So yeah, let's end it over here. If you have any question, as I said, make sure to post it in the comment section. I'll be closely keeping an eye on it and to make sure that anybody who's watching this video is actually able to grasp a context, and if you think that I could possibly improve in my method of teaching, let me know about that as well. Any criticism is appreciated. I would love to improve. So yeah, let's end it over here. Have a great day and take care of yourself. I'll see you guys in the next lecture. Bye.